What's up, everybody? How you doing? Welcome back to Horror Hangout. This is something special. So, if you've been a fan of my channel or Shot 31 for a long time, you might have heard of this. We used to do a show for a very short amount of time called Me and My Final Girl. It got to where our schedule was just not allowing us to do it the way we wanted to, so we stopped doing it very quick. We only did 4 episodes. So, we're picking back up where we left off. This is episode 5 of Me and My Final Girl. This is where primarily we're going to be doing movies that she's never seen before, and we will review them, talk about the movie, and then I will do a gore score review on the movie. This first episode is one that she just really wanted to watch this movie, and so we watched it. It's called Tucker and Dale vs. Evil. I'm sure you've heard of it. So if you haven't heard about the movie, Tucker and Dale vs. Evil is like, what year did this come out in? Do you have any idea?
I know they were using flip phones.
That's right.
So
2010. So it came out 13 years ago. That actually matters on these things. So, yeah, it's who's in the movie?
Alan Tudyk is the main reason I want to watch it.
Right. Why is that?
Alan Tudyk mostly because he's from Firefly.
That's what I was looking for.
Yes. I don't even know the names of anybody else who's in it, but
Nobody of any relevance, I don't think. Even Dale is not somebody that I recognize, really.
No, the main chick looks vaguely familiar, but she kind of has like a standard.
Don't they all look kind of like her though?
Standard skinny blonde chick.
So the movie's kind of it's probably the second best. What do you call it? What's the word?
The satire or spoof.
Satirical horror movie that I can think of. It's not as good as Shaun of the Dead. I thought it might be when I was watching it last night. And then upon rewatching it, I was like, okay, it's not as good as Shaun of the Dead, but it is very good. Like, it's not far off. Shaun of the Dead was just, I don't know, man. That movie's kind of a 10 out of 10, really. It's kind of hard to compete with that one when you're talking about stuff like this. And this one, the fact that this one's even in the same sentence is a pretty big, I think that's pretty high praise.
Yeah.
So, you got basically 2 stories that just intertwine, but really kind of immediately in the movie.
Right.
You got these 2 dumb redneck guys. Oh, brought to you by Knife Crime Apparel. If you're interested in Knife Crime shirt, hit your boy up. So it's about these 2 backwood yokel types.
Yeah.
That are just trying to have. They're trying to get this cabin to be like their vacation home. They're just like 2 buddies. They're like.
Yeah, they're just 2 buddies and
hetero life mates.
Yes. And they put all of their money into this cabin because it's been their dream. And they're out in the mountains, and there also happens to be this group of college kids who are taking a camping trip for the weekend. I guess this is Memorial Day because they said it was
something about veterans something or other.
Yeah. So
just think of the douchiest group of 7 college kids you can come up with. Like the dumb girl.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, the other 2 girls are fine. They're just regular pretty girls. But there's one that's just she's
the dumb skank.
Yeah, her. And then you got the 2 other ones that are just pretty girls. But then you have the douchiest of douche fellas. And
his name in the movie is actually Chad.
That needs to be mentioned. So they all they actually meet at a truck stop, gas station, of course,
Mm-hmm.
And Tucker and Dell are up there doing their whatever, hanging out, and then those guys stop to get gas and beer, and Dale wants to go talk to the pretty girl, and then what happens?
And he's super awkward, and he's super uncomfortable.
You don't know nothing about that, now, do you?
No, not at all. Not at all. And
she does.
And Tucker tries to talk him up and say, okay, yeah, just go and smile and laugh. So
he's like,
Dale walks over there carrying a scythe,
you know who that reminds me of?
A Grim Reaper scythe. What?
He's like, hey, I want to go see this girl. Look at my Minecraft axe. And you're like,
yeah. No, he would.
Ask him, he'll tell you.
He's Dale literally put back the broom and picked up the axe so he could go over there and talk to them and say, hey, y'all going camping?
And so they get all
super creeped out.
Yeah, so they get all creeped out. And that's why she likes this movie, stuff like that she
It's
finds
so
hilarious,
silly.
and I think is like moderately funny, but I like all the gore. Well, that's why these movies cross over well. We can watch them for two very different reasons and both be satisfied. That's what these movies provide people like us, is that it's two very separate genres that we can both get our satisfaction from with the same movie. It's kind of nice, actually. And so they immediately start creeping out these locals. They start, okay, so that's how they meet, and then they kind of split off and go about their business. The locals go do their camping thing, and Tucker and Dale go to do their camping thing, their cabin thing, excuse me, and the college kids go to do their camping thing.
But they went on their
so okay, so then it fast forwards a few minutes, you get a bunch of just filler stuff, and then college kids are going to go swimming in this lake, or is it a river, whatever, this body of water, and they're going to go swimming at night, and Tucker and Dale just happen to like to go night fishing. And so they're out there in their, like, what, canoe or something?
Yeah, they're out there in just like a little canoe, like rowboat.
Yeah,
type
little rowboat
thing.
type deal, a little two-person rower.
Yeah, and they're just fishing, and they happen to notice that, oh, these kids are skinny dipping.
Well, the funny part is that there's it had to be a lake, right? Because it had like the part where like there was like this, I don't know, it's like a mini peninsula where like trees came out, and so they're on one end of it, and the other kids, so they don't even realize that they're in the same place.
Right.
And so
and there's like reeds in the way.
Yeah, and there's like this, but there's this big like dirt cliff thing. It really kind of felt like a swampier Lake Travis, small, but like it just felt like I've seen places like that. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I thought, I've been in places like this.
Yeah. It's more like an overgrown puddle.
It really is. So it's just a big puddle.
Yeah.
They were playing in the rain.
Yeah.
Parker. You're gonna hear a lot of family references here. Sorry.
Yeah.
But so then one of the main chick, was her name Allison?
Yes.
She gets up on this rock and she's about to dive in, and she's like looking around. And she's like, okay, nobody's here. Starts taking her clothes off. Dale's peeping her.
Okay, no. Dale is the one being like, "Oh gosh, they're naked."
Oh, that's
and,
right.
Hiding, and Tucker's the one looking. Her. Dale yells at Tucker, and that's what gets Allison's attention, and she slips and falls and hits her head,
and then falls into the water.
Yeah, and then they're like, "She's not coming up," so they go to try to rescue her, and as they're pulling her limp body into the boat, her friends see her and it's like, "Oh my goodness, they killed Allison!" And
it was so ridiculous.
and the
she wasn't a drama student or anything.
I really wasn't.
You definitely should have been.
But the rednecks are like, "We got your friend."
This is it. Like when I'm at the theater, this happens at the theater a lot. I'll be like watching a movie. Like I go by myself frequently because I go to a lot of late stuff and a lot of horror movies that I'm not sure she wants to watch yet. So I'll go kind of watch them and be like, all right, something that you don't want to see is fill in the blank. All right. But a lot of times I'll go to the theater and there'll be like a joke that anybody, even you, would be like, all right, that was funny. Some dude in the back is like, oh my God. And you're like, yo, dude, chill, bro. It's not that funny, dude. And it's like they overlap. Anyways. You do that a lot, and I'm over serious. I'm a curmudgeon-y asshole, so whatever. It equals itself out. I'm a Grinch, okay? I can handle it. It is what it is.
But then there are other things that you think are hilarious.
Example, please.
That type that you were talking about doing yesterday.
Which one? No! Dude, okay, hold on. Pause. If you had a device that let off a subtle, like, beep at any interval that you wanted up to 5 minutes. So let's say you could do it every 3 minutes, right? And it was really small and it was designed to be hidden. And it was called the Annoyatron. And you could put that in like your boss's office and it had a battery life of 3 months. It wouldn't be, you're smiling because it's hilarious. To put that in somebody's room, the best part would be to put it in somebody's room and like at a place where you don't actually, where you're not
around it.
Yeah, because then you just know what's happening there, and they have no reason to suspect you did it. So you would never be found out. As a matter of fact, they would blame like the office shithead. He would get blamed for it, and you could just swoop out of the way.
That's because they don't know that you are the office shithead. Exactly.
But yes, I am 100% ordering this, and everybody at Alamo Draft House, because you don't watch my videos. See, if you watched my content like you say you do, you'd know it was coming, but you don't. Austin's going to probably see this because he's cool. I trust Austin. I believe you, Austin. You're good. But, yeah. It's going to happen, y'all.
He was like, dying laughing
Dude, no,
about this, and I'm just like,
no, I was laughing at the story that I was telling you.
okay, that was funny.
Because this guy, he did it to his office building, and literally, like, they got like the Canadian Mounties involved because they thought it was like a listening device or a bomb.
Yeah.
Because instead of just asking their staff, "Hey, who put this here?" they emailed it to security. Security didn't know what it was, couldn't figure out what it was, so they emailed it above. It just kept escalating until it got to like basically the Canadian feds. How is that not hilarious? This poor guy got, and then he's like sitting in this meeting and going, "Oh my, that's what they're talking about," and he has to sit there knowing that they're talking about this stupid device that he bought for $12, and they spent like, it was like $500 grand, and they lost a bunch of business. Like, dude, that is what I was laughing at. I was laughing because that is insanity. Like,
yes.
I'm. It would be funny to do that to somebody. It is hilarious to have the federal government involved because you played a prank. Like, how's that not funny? That's funnier than a freaking "we got your friend." They did cut that into some wood with an axe. Let's get back to the movie.
Did. It was funny.
It's all right. So anyway, so they tell them they've got their friend. They assume that means that they're killing her.
Yeah.
And so that's when things start to really go haywire. So they go back to the cabin with the girl to try to help her out. The teens start to really like plan on their vengeance.
Mm-hmm.
They want to go and get this girl, right? So let's just, we don't want to go with too much filler. Let's talk about what happens from this point almost to the end of the movie with like the accidental stuff. So what happens is, the reason this movie is so funny is because how the miscommunication is the key to this movie being funny. They say one thing, they hear another. They do one thing, they read it as something different. That's where this becomes funny because, as an example, the deaths in this movie are hilarious. They're so dumb because at one point, they're clearing out this land to have this cabin.
Yeah.
And so, what is it, Tucker, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is putting like big chunks of debris in this wood chipper, and this kid has a knife in his hand, and he's going to go run at him and stab him, right, to get their friend. And he goes running at him, and right as he's running at him, Tucker like bends over to grab some stuff. The dude trips over him, falls in the wood chipper. Well, Tucker stands up, and he sees this as the kid jumped into the wood chipper. So first and foremost, what? If you're going to kill yourself, you're not jumping into a wood chipper. You can jump off of a building maybe, but not, dude, a wood chipper might not work. It might just go, and now you don't have an arm. You thought you were miserable.
That's why you went head first.
You thought you were miserable before, but if you were sitting like this, you'd be a lot more miserable. Oh, that was ridiculous. Anyways, you'd be a lot more miserable with one arm. So that's where that's the joke, is that these kids are doing stuff and accidentally killing themselves. These two idiots think that they're committing suicide.
Yeah, think that they're doing it on purpose.
Yeah, like one dude runs at like Dale and the girl are outside digging a crapper hole, and they're digging like an outhouse hole.
Yeah.
And a guy runs at him with like a, I don't know, like a sharpened piece of lumber. He's like, ah! And then he spins around and knocks out old girl with a shovel by accident. She falls into the hole. He falls next to her. And then the guy trips and falls onto the stick and like stabs himself through the torso and then slides down it, dripping blood all over Dale and the girl. Yeah. And then the girl's knocked out from getting hit with a shovel by accident, of course. Oh, she goes, watch out. And then he turns, and that's what hits her with the shovel and knocks her out. And so they take her back to the house, and now, the very first kill was, or the very first chase scene was Tucker was sawing some wood, and inside of a big log there was a bee nest or like a hornet nest, and he saws into it, and so they come after him. So he does like a Texas Chainsaw thing where he's like, ah, and he's running down the thing, and the kid thinks he's running at him. He doesn't even see the kid at first, and so the kid starts running after him, and so then he thinks that the kid must be scared of the hornets, and that's why he's running from him. So they just don't. These guys are simple people. They're simple.
And the kid is just running, and as Tucker starts to pass him up, he's looking at him like, what? And then runs straight into a fallen like tree trunk
and impales himself.
Yeah, just impales himself.
That's what it was. It was the first death.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you had the wood chipper thing. Then you have Then you have the impale onto the spear thing. Then you have the wood chipper thing.
Yes.
And then you got a few minutes that goes between kills because you start to see like the story starts to unfold a little bit.
Mhm.
They wake up the girl. She's like, "What's going on?" They're like, "Dude, your friends are trying to kill themselves. Is this like a suicide pact or something?" And
Yeah.
she's confused, like, "What are you talking about? Why would they do that?" They think they're trying to kill the girl, so they're after them. And then you got Chad, who's like uber ready to do this.
But yeah, Chad also like has this huge crush on Allison.
That it's not reciprocated.
Not at all.
She is not feeling this fool.
So that's also part of why he is super into trying to get her back.
That's true. That's true because he's really wanting to like her attention.
Yes.
He's trying to save the princess type of thing. Very Mario and Princess Peach.
Okay, so yeah, they go. There's a whole bunch more shenanigans.
Yeah, a bunch of like filler stuff happens at this part. This is like the second act. You're fixing to enter the third act. The third act is when it really starts to pick up with the shenanigans, violence. The story picks up pace a little bit. There's not very many lulls in this movie. I didn't get bored at all watching it, but there are a few things that this could have been like a 70-minute movie. They didn't have to keep it 90 minutes, but it's a theatrical movie. You can't really drop a movie in the theaters that's 70 minutes. I do think that this movie would have been better if it was 10 or 15 minutes shorter with some of the filler cut out of it, because
like
a lot of the talking didn't make any sense, didn't need to be there. A lot of the teen stuff was like unnecessary because it was stuff we already knew. They were just saying it. A lot of the dialogue from the teens specifically was like just empty dialogue that was either unnecessary, we didn't need it. And I'm just saying, like, if it were me, I like really short movies, and there's filler in this movie. I really have gotten used to short movies, man. It's not necessarily a good thing. It's just what I've gotten used to. Like, I'm looking at things going, 92 minutes. I don't know if I feel like watching this. Like, oh, there we go, 73 minutes. That's what I want. So, I mean, really, I probably would just butcher this. But it's not. How long is this movie? I didn't even think to look.
It's pretty short.
Yeah, it's not super long. It might actually be less than 90 minutes now that I'm thinking about it.
The kids try to rescue her from the house,
and
Allison talks them into sitting down and sharing a cup of tea.
Oh yeah, because she's like a therapist in training. That's what she's going to school for.
Yeah.
So was it Dale or was it Tucker?
It was Dale.
It was Dale.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she has Dale and Chad sit down, and it's like at this like, long wooden table.
Yeah.
And they're looking at each other all irritated, and she's in the middle being like a referee of sorts.
Yeah.
And they're having to talk about what's going on, and Dale's all empathetic to Chad.
Right.
And Chad's just a douche.
Yes.
He's a very unlikable character. In the whole movie, you're just waiting for him to die. But that's the whole point, is that he's the last one to die because he's the least likable, and that's the whole point, is you want to make a guy... You don't want the guy that dies at the end to be likable. That sucks. You want you want to have him... Finally, the guy's gone. So they end up... Because they're in their cabin. They're arguing about something. Oh, right when they get in the cabin, she stops Chad from like lighting the place on fire.
Yeah.
Remember, he's dumping gasoline everywhere.
Yeah.
So that he dumps gasoline everywhere. Then she stops him from lighting it on fire, which is huge foreshadowing. They sit at the table. They argue, and then eventually, the other kid runs in.
The other kids. There were two other kids who were outside. And they're like, okay. They said if they're not back in 15 minutes, we need to run in guns blazing.
That's right.
We don't even have any guns.
The girl was so dumb. The girl was so dumb. She was wearing like these like wedge platform type shoes that I just thought like, oh yeah, if you're going anywhere near dirt, do not wear those.
No.
Like, you're gonna just anyways. There's a lot of stuff we're leaving out of the movie. I mean, it'd be in your best interest to just watch the film. But so so what happens is there's a fight.
Yeah.
Place goes up in flames. Let's see what else happens. A couple people burn. Dale escapes. They take the girl. The dude Chad takes the girl. Or no. What happens? They're running toward the truck because it's on fire. It's going to blow up. And the Chad guy escapes burned, like badly burned.
Like,
and he takes
Two-Face style.
Yeah, and he takes the girl and goes to like their big work shed place, like their barn. And it's like got like a saw, like a table saw.
Mm-hmm.
He ties her to it. He's going to cut her in half because he wants her attention, and that's the way to get it. I guess I don't really understand the logic behind this, but super villains and all. And Dale is going to go save her, and he puts on like a welder's mask and some big old gloves and some knives in his boots, and like he gets all Rambo'd out, and he goes to go save her. And right as he's getting her uncut, the guy jumps in and kicks him, and then a fight ensues. There's only a couple of fights in the whole movie. Actually, I think there's only one actual fight in the movie, and it was this one. This is the actual
Yeah.
fight in the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the movie. The girl gets saved, they fight. Obviously, the good guys win. It's not a movie like if the bad guys won, it would be not the right ending for a movie like this, in my opinion. And I'm all for the bad guys winning in horror movies that are like super horror, like real horror movies. Like, why would you have an ending that's so ridiculous? But in a movie like this, you want the good guys to win. What's up?
Although you might need to take away one of your kills because the Chad guy doesn't die.
At all in the movie?
At the very beginning, which actually I remember the very first 2 kills was the opening scene with the news reporter and her cameraman going into the building, and they get knocked out by Two-Face, and it like shows his face, and then it comes across the bottom, says 3 days earlier.
Oh. Yeah, you're right then.
So I'm sorry I just made the gore score go down a few points.
It's okay.
But the bad guy survived.
I'd rather be accurate
that's
than...
what he likes.
No, you're misunderstanding what I like. I like in a horror movie when the girl or man or whoever gets just bludgeoned. I don't know, maybe thrown off a building like Barbarian, and somehow is able to survive that. Come on, man! Still a great movie overall. Super awesome movie. Just say it. Anyways, spoiler alert. Hope you've seen Barbarian. So yeah. Then the Dale ends up. Oh, dude, yeah. There's other stuff that happens in the movie. There's little bit details here and there, but let's see. Tucker ends up in the hospital because he got really hurt real bad. Oh, they took him at one point and like cut his fingers off and threw him at the door. It was whatever. So he ends up in the hospital to fix him up, and Dale goes to go see him. And this is like right at the very end of the movie, and Dale's like, talking to him, and Tucker pulls up his hand, and he's got like a different person's finger. I don't know, it's really strange. Mm-hmm. And then he tells him like, "Oh, did you ever get to talk to that girl?" And he's like, "Oh, not really." And he's like, "Oh, come on, man, you didn't ask her out." And he goes, "Actually, she's really good at bowling, and that's something he's apparently really good at." And then the movie basically ends with them at a bowling alley bowling and her kissing him, and it's super unrealistic. But a happy ending. That's what we want over here at Horror Hangout. Happy endings. Okay, let's talk about the gore score of this movie. So for the gore score, Tucker and Dale versus Evil, I gave it a 9 out of 10 point scale for the special effects. The story gets a 10 out of 10 because I do think it's a very well written story. It's not perfect, so I guess I shouldn't have given it a 10, but I like it a lot, so I gave it a 10. It's a subjective score, folks. We got 10 points for the story. The acting, I thought I got 8 points, and that's mostly for Alan Tudyk, the guy that played Dale, and the main girl. All the filler characters were all right. They weren't super bad. They weren't 10s. The dialogue, though, I gave it a 10 because the dialogue is probably the best part of this whole movie because they say a lot of funny things. There's a lot of funny stuff, a lot of good jokes, and I like the body language is still a dialogue, man. The way that they do things in this movie I thought was really, really great. The bad guy rating, I gave it a 7 because it's super vanilla and to be expected, but it is decent. It's not like a 2 or anything. The ending, I gave it a 5 because the ending is just not my kind of ending. It was a happy ending. It was a solid ending, but it was just, dude, come on, man. Like, that girl's not getting with that guy. It just ain't, it's just not realistic, but whatever. Neither is dude jumping into a wood chipper, so I guess I should just shut my mouth. There were 13 kills for 5 points apiece, getting 65 points. 2 severed limbs for 20 points. There was 2 scenes of torture for 20 points. 3 scenes of drug use or drinking. Most of that was just drinking for 15 points. There was 2 non-lethal gunshot. There was 2 non-lethal gunshot wounds or stabbings for 10 points. There was 1 fist fight in the movie for 5 points. It gets 5 extra points from being a decade back. For every decade back, you get 5 points. So for 2020s, 2010s, 2000s, 90s, 80s, etc., etc. This was in 2010. Gets 5 extra points, and also has Alan Tudyk in it. Gets 5 extra points. You get 5 points for each legend in your movie. That gives us a grand gore score of 190 points for Tucker and Dale versus Evil. I'll be honest, when we were sitting down to do this, I thought it was going to get a much higher gore score. I thought there'd be more violence. I remembered it being more violent, more gory. I remembered it being more spectacular in those ways. But the gore score isn't the say all, end all, be all, whatever. We also have a recommendation scale of 1 through 10. And I have to give this a 10 as far as a recommendation. You have to watch this if you haven't seen it yet. It's one of her favorite horror movies. She hasn't seen a ton of them, which is why we do these shows. So yeah, Hooker and Dale vs. Evil, man. 10 out of 10 rating for us as far as recommendation. 190 gore score points. That's not too bad for a movie that's like kind of a comedy as well. I would imagine that Shaun of the Dead doesn't score any higher than that.
Probably not.
Because a lot of it's like you want like nudity, super violence, and you want to score high. Like the highest scoring movies that we have are stuff like Terrifier 2.
Yeah.
What was the other one? Officer Down, From Dusk Till Dawn. Those anything over 500 points, honestly, is kind of rare.
Right.
Like, most of the movies are between 200 and 300 points. If you get 200 points, this is almost there. I'd say it's a pretty serviceable horror movie.
Yeah, and I mean, even the closest thing they came to nudity was the skinny dipping.
Yeah, they didn't actually.
And they didn't actually. No.
Sorry for that.
Spoiler.
But yeah, a lot of the classics, early '80s stuff, they don't get high gore scores either. The gore score is just a fun way to tell people what kind of happens in the movies, and it's not necessarily meaning whether or not you should watch it. That's what the recommendation is for. Sorry, it was a fly. Anyways, anything else you want to say about the movie before we go?
It's an awesome movie. You should see it.
Boom shakalaka. So that's it for this episode of Me and My Final Girl. This is my final girl. This is my wife, Carissa, for anybody that does not know. Anyways, all right, guys, we're out of here. Thanks for hanging out. It's been a pleasure, man. We'll be back. We'll figure this out, and we'll figure out the what's the word I'm looking for here. Whatever, man. We're out of here. Have a good day. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you soon. Peace.